Hey there, traders. Shane here with Futures IO, coming to you live from beautiful McCormick's Creek State Park in Indiana and streaming across the globe. We are pleased to have you here today with our 426 webinar event. I've been asking some of our members a simple question, and the question is, what makes Futures IO different? One member mentioned that they were struck by the number of Ninja Trader indicators that were being shared amongst users. They also mentioned that the Elite membership is the best and least expensive investment a new trader could ever make. Personally, I agree. I've been with Futures IO for 4 years. The people here are real traders. They come from all across the world and all walks of life. They range from complete beginners to seasoned professionals with everything in between covered. No matter where you're at in your trading journey, you're going to find somebody that can help you or someone that you can help. Our community fosters this type of positive environment, and I encourage you to join us. Our YouTube channel has over 400 educational videos covering every imaginable topic, all of them free to the public. Check it out when you get a chance, and do us a big favor by hitting that like button while you're there. Share it with your trading friends, and definitely subscribe for all the latest updates. On social media, you can follow us on Facebook, and we're active on Twitter at FuturesIO. Okay, today we got another event with our friends over at Sharkindicators. Jeremy Tang is in the house, and we're going to be going over some new features available in their legendary BlackBird software, as well as another major development they've been working on for some time, which is support for Forex markets. That's pretty big. Zach White is also here with us. After the presentation, we're going to have a Q&A with Jeremy and Zach, who will be glad to answer any questions that you may have. If you look down on your Zoom control bar, you'll see a Q&A button. If you hit that, you can ask your own questions as well as view all the other ones. As always, the event's being recorded, and it's going to be posted on the Futures IO website and YouTube within 48 hours. Any questions that we don't get to here will be posted on the webinar thread where we can all continue the conversation. All righty, I think we're ready to get rolling here. Jeremy, how have you been, man?
I've been great. Can you believe it's almost the middle of the year already?
Creeping up on us. Didn't even see it coming.
Yeah. Well,
for sure. I mean, Zach, you out there?
Yeah, I'm here. I know summer's going to be here before we know it. So you got to get out there and enjoy the cooler spring weather, before it gets too hot. So.
Well, I don't know about you guys. Like, I know that, I've heard in the States, you've pretty much opened up and COVID is quickly becoming a thing of the past, but I'm in Canada, and at least my province right now is essentially completely locked down. None of the restaurants are open for anything other than takeout. Schools are at basically being conducted from home, and we're all confined to our homes now, our home office. And I've been working at my home office now for almost a year and a half now. So it's still, looking forward to getting everybody vaccinated and back to normal. That's really all I'm looking forward to for this summer.
You'll get there. Yeah, it's just a matter of time. We'll all get there. It's just a matter of time.
No, Zach, you're here in the States?
Yes. Yep. I'm up in Idaho here. So I'm actually just a little south of Jeremy geographically, as it surprisingly works out that way.
Hey, Jeremy, where are you at?
All right, Shane. I'm in Calgary, Alberta, where it's about 8 months of winter throughout the year. I'm just, yeah, no doubt. Like, it's going to snow snow tomorrow. That's what the forecast is, believe it or not. All right, Shane, am I good to take the sharing or the screen from you?
Yeah, we're ready to go here, man. Go right ahead.
Okay, I've got my standard disclaimer up here, and I'm just going to roll right into it. So as Shane mentioned, today's presentation is going to be about one of our flagship products called BlackBird. I'm going to talk a little bit about who it's for, what it is, and then Zach's actually going to give you a live demo showing the software in action. Probably there's a mix of you in here that have used it, and some of you maybe are new to our product line. It's always a pleasure being hosted by Shane and Mike at Futures IO. You guys are probably, I would say, the cream of the crop in terms of sophistication when it comes to traders out there from the retail side. There's some very, very smart, intelligent people on this forum. So we love presenting to you guys as an audience. It's always a pleasure. We always get amazing feedback. Okay, so what is this BlackBird product. Well, let's start actually let's start talking about like who it's for. And before I get into that, I was actually wondering, Shane, if you could throw up that little poll there. What I want to find out is in the crowd of participants here today, how many of you consider yourself a discretionary trader or a fully automated trader or somewhere in between? And you can sort of mark, where you want to be, because that could differ actually from where you actually are currently. Because and one of the points I do want to make is that there are definitely some people out there that are interested in automating aspects of their trading, or even going full auto, but just simply lack the tools or the know-how. And I certainly don't blame them, because for the most part, unless you have the correct tool, you have to be a pretty sophisticated programmer to be able to pull that off. Okay, so go ahead and maybe go ahead and answer that poll there. And I'm not sure if I probably have to answer it myself here to get in. And maybe Shane, I can't really see the actual results, but maybe you can share some of those with us.
Hey, it's our first Zoom polling test, right?
Yeah.
They're still filtering in. Looks like discretionary, we're seeing 24%, semi-auto at 63%, and full auto at 13%.
Did you say semi-auto at 63?
That's correct.
Yeah, the vast majority. Wow.
Yeah. Okay.
Kind of what I suspected.
Yeah. And there must be quite a few NinjaTrader ATM users in here. That's probably my guess.
Yeah, too bad we didn't put that in the poll. Oh well.
Yeah. Well, yeah, I would definitely consider using the ATM semi-automated, because that's essentially what the ATM is designed for. And you might be wondering what BlackBird and where that kind of fits in. And I'm just simply going to state it doesn't matter. BlackBird is designed to work with you, no matter what kind of trading style that you sort of like to gravitate towards, whether it's full discretionary or fully automated or anywhere along that spectrum, because that's really what it is. There's certain aspects of your trading that you can automate, and certain aspects, different parts of it that you may feel more comfortable taking the manual, using manual steps to implement. And there's nothing wrong with that. And so when we designed BlackBird, we basically designed it for any style of trading. I'd like to break down BlackBird into sort of three main sections. And I think a lot of people in our industry, they're actually, when they think of a trading system, or they buy a trading system off the shelf, typically what you may be thinking about, or what, say, the marketing or the product is actually doing, is it's just giving you entry signals. And then it sort of leaves you to your own devices to figure out the rest. And Sharkindicators, and certainly I would say argue in reality, that's only a small aspect of trading and trading success. It's not just the entry signals, but actually all the other stuff around it. And I'm talking about, in particular, things like managing the entry, whether you do that automated or you do that using some sort of manual process. And I'm also talking about things like having some sort of plan or methodology to manage the actual position while it's live. And a lot can happen in there. And actually that can make or break the success of your entire trade system, is actually how you handle just that aspect alone. If you ever watch, or I'm sure a lot of you guys are in here can relate to that, because a lot of you guys probably are good discretionary traders, or if you've used the ATM, you can also relate. You don't simply just throw on your stop losses and profit targets and sit there sitting on your hands, right? You probably get in there and you make adjustments on the fly, and that's perfectly, that's a technique, of course, a lot of discretionary sophisticated traders actually use, because you're looking at things in the market and you're reacting to them. And any good trade manager system should allow you to be able to do things like that, as well as automate aspects of that. And I'll get a little bit more into that, because that's actually going to be the focus of today's demo. And lastly, and arguably just as important, is the sort of the bird's eye view of all this, which is the risk and money management portion of it, which is like kind of managing the account as a whole, in terms of determining how much risk per trade you can take, setting parameters about how many, successive or succeeding trades versus losing trades. What's your max risk that you're going to sustain per day? Those are all decisions that you, as a competent trader, would make, and would most likely incorporate in your trade system as a whole, to guard against a catastrophic loss, which is of course another very important aspect of it. I did sort of touch on the NinjaTrader ATM earlier. In terms of the kind of grand scheme of things, this is where it sits in the functionality of things. The NinjaTrader ATM, for those of you that are familiar with it, does handle a small aspect of sort of automated, what we call automated order management. And you're going to see today, this is kind of the focus of the presentation, is Zach is going to go through and show you how sophisticated some of these tools are that we've put in here for BlackBird. And this kind of leads me into the next point, is we actually designed it in such a way that, I use air quotes in this, that you can program, and I don't really mean program in terms of coding, I mean programming as in specifying and configuring. You can program BlackBird to manipulate the stop losses and profit targets and even your entries in such a way that it mimics what a human trader, a good human discretionary trader, can actually do. And so those of you that have been around the block a few times and are really competent traders from a discretionary standpoint will know that some of the stuff that perhaps you're performing in the live market in terms of moving your exits around, you just don't see that in an automated tool. And the reason why is because everybody's got a different idea on how you'd like to control those exits. And so what BlackBird can let you do is you have full control over how you're going to design the exits, how they're going to move. And then you can even automate that to behave and mimic how you would behave in the live market. Okay, so again, we're going to show you kind of how we can do that. So in summary, BlackBird again can handle these three main tenets of the order side and all the other stuff that's basically outside of the entry, the signals, in terms of the entry management, the order management, and the money management. And it'll allow you to either drive that using your own intuition and basically doing it manually, or you can fully automate it. So you can actually go anywhere between that spectrum, and you can switch any one of these aspects at any time between a manual sense and an automated sense, kind of whatever you feel like at the moment, or whatever fits your trading style. And you can do that and switch back and forth on the fly, and BlackBird will pick up the slack for you. So that's the kind of tool that it is. And so again, today's focus is going to be on this one aspect of the BlackBird software. So I'm just give you a little bit of a sneak peek of some of what the interface looks like. Right. So don't worry if absorbing kind of everything. This is sort of not meant to be a tutorial on how to use BlackBird, but just more or less, I'm just going to show you what it can do. So here's an example of a trader putting up 3 OCO sets with different kind of styles of with different styles of entries, limit entries, stop limit entries. It's even smart enough to pick the correct style of entry, be it stop limit or limit entry, depending on what side of the market the entry is actually sitting on. And then you have the option of putting together really sophisticated stop losses and profit targets. And when I mean sophisticated, I mean you have an unbelievable amount of flexibility in terms of how you want to behave while it's live. So I'll get into that in the next slide, but I'm just going to back up for 1 second. Another really cool tool that we have is this notion of being able to scale in according to the size of your risk. And this is a tool that's also great for discretionary traders. It can, of course, be engaged for automated and semi-automated trading as well. We also have this really cool tool. We call it dynamic planning. So this is kind of a neat story, but before we started, this is kind of long before we built BlackBird. Zach and I were watching kind of a professional trader use NinjaTrader. And what he would do is he would basically set up his ATM so that his profit targets and stop losses are really, really wide, wider than he'd ever need them to be. And the reason why he did that was because when he hit the go button, his position went live. He would sit there, like the actual orders would be submitted to the broker, and then he would scramble to put them in place, kind of where he actually did want them. And we thought, like, that's kind of a silly way to do it, because that is a little bit risky, right? You got to have some dexterity, and you got to be pretty cool under pressure to be putting those, moving those stop losses in the right places. When I talk about right places, and for him, it was like things like, he wants it at the swing low of the last swing, the bar that represented the last swing low, things like that, or the last support resistance line. That's where he was putting them. And so, as if you've used the NinjaTrader ATM, you can't do that. You have to do that manually. And I'll just say with BlackBird, you can automate that. But if you don't want to automate it, you can use a tool like this, where you can actually sort of pre-visualize where you're going to put those stop losses and profit targets before you actually make them live. And so you kind of notice that these are kind of like just slightly ghosted out here, but this trader is putting on the planned positions, and then he just needs to press the execute button, and then boom, all the orders will appear exactly where they placed them. So kind of a neat little tool there. As I mentioned before, we have a lot of flexibility in how you can design any one of your orders and how they're going to be placed, how they're going to behave while they're live. This particular trader here is electing to manipulate exactly where the limit entry is going to occur. In this case, this trader is actually going to be placing their next entry, like scaling in, if you will, after a certain condition happens. That's based off an indicator, right? So and when I talk about indicators, like BlackBird can actually look at all the indicators that are installed on your computer, and you can sort of use your favorite one to design logic or even place the position of orders. So here's an example of using the Camarilla pivots, to position, say a stop loss or, a profit target. You can do that. And Futures.io actually is a great source of free indicators. If you're an elite member, if you're not, I highly recommend it. It's a no-brainer. You got access to download, thousands of indicators, and BlackBird will see them. But BlackBird will work with about 95% of them. It depends, of course, on the indicator developer, whether or not they sort of expose the data properly or not. But for the most part, 95% of those indicators that you download from Futures.io or any other source, you can plug them right into BlackBird. So it's a great little tool for flexibility. So that's just a really broad stroke, quick brush through of what BlackBird can do. And so what I'm going to do here is pass the buck over to Zach, who's just going to give you a live demo of it.
All right, just a minute, folks, while I switch over the screen sharing. And there we go. All right, so let me do a quick little introduction to the majority of people in here. So I do see a whole bunch of regular attendees here in the room, to my training workshops here. So welcome, gentlemen. It always surprises me to see how many existing customers still attend our sales webinar, even though they've already, bought the Kool-Aid. So, but anyways, guys, yeah, a bunch of guys have been just saying hi in the Q&A window. So yeah, welcome guys. Thanks for joining us again. So let me do a little introduction here. So I am in charge of doing the training workshops here. So that's why I've got this page up here. So we offer this on a weekly basis. So for BloodHound, our other product, that's on Thursdays, every Thursdays, and BlackBird, which is what we're here for today, there's a workshop on every Friday, right? And that's about, 50 weeks out of the year approximately. So, as long as there's no vacations or anything, then these workshops are ongoing and continuous, right? So that's what I do. These workshops here are to help you guys, learn how to implement your trading ideas into our software, right? So if you have entry signals that you want to learn how to implement them into BloodHound, that's what the BloodHound workshops are for, and then if you have some kind of fancy order management that you want to accomplish, within BlackBird, that's what the BlackBird workshop would be for, right? So that's kind of one of my main roles here in the workshops. So, all right. So with that little introduction, let me explain what I'm going to demo for you. So I'm going to demonstrate some complex stop loss trailing capabilities that you can implement into BlackBird. Right. So Jeremy kind of called it programming into BlackBird, but programming, implement, whatever you want to call it. So let me kind of pull this up here and just give you guys a sneak peek here, right? So what this is right now in red here is the stop loss. And what I'm showing you is the trailing rules here. So I have 3 different types of trailing rules implemented in here. And so if we look at the chart, right, we can see I have the super trend on here. So there's the Fat Tails super trend. That's a pretty popular trailing indicator on Futures IO, I think. I think it's still popular. And then, of course, we have the old, fashioned parabolic SAR on there as well. And so and also the MACD here. So I've designed this trailing stop loss here to originally to follow the super trend, but then if the MACD histogram goes against the trade, so for example, right, if we were in this kind of short trade here as the market was going down, right, the stop loss would be following the super trend indicator here, right, in the red dots. And then when the MACD histogram, crossed that 0 line, and went against the direction of the trade, then the stop loss is going to switch over to following the parabolic SAR, right? So basically, in simpler terms, if the MACD momentum starts fading and going against the trade, by the histogram crossing that 0 line, then that's basically showing you that the market momentum is lightening up. And so if that happens, right, if that momentum begins to kind of wear down, then tighten up the stop loss. So the stop loss is going to move from the super trend down to the parabolic SAR and tighten up, to try and lock in, as much as that profit as possible, instead of just waiting for the market to just fully reverse and, and take you out at the super trend, right? So, so there's a couple of things going on here. And then there's also a little third bonus here that I'll discuss that in a moment here. We'll leave that out. And in my second little demo here, I'll show you that. So I'm just going to manually, get into these trades here, because again, the demo is to show you, the advanced capabilities that you can build into your stop losses. And also, it's not only stop losses that can be trailed, but you can put rules into your profit target to move your profit targets out or pull them back in, right? So if you have some other kind of indication, like I could have used the MACD, we could be polling the MACD, and use that as an indication to pull that profit target in, you know, in case the market wasn't quite going to reach that profit target. And let me pause this for a moment. And the same thing for the entry orders as well. Entry orders can also follow an indicator. So for example, like if you trade off of a moving average, you know, like if you like to take bounce trades off of a moving average, you know, I don't have any moving averages on my chart, but you know, you could tie your entry order to following that moving average. And so you could just, you know, hit the go long or go short button, you know, and then you're moving, and then your entry order is just going to follow that moving average, you know, and wait for that market to, you know, pull back, you know, to the mean and pick up that order, and then hopefully continue on right with the trend again. So all of the orders here, let me pull this up here. So all the orders here, so in blue, that would be your entry order. And then in green and in red, those are your profit target and stop losses. So all three orders, you know, you can apply trailing rules, which basically is just applying automation, right, to moving those orders around automatically for you, so you don't have to micromanage them when you're in the heat of a trade there. So, all right, so let's kind of get back to my demo here. So we can see that right now the super trend is on the wrong side of the market, right? I took a long trade, right? So my profit target is up top here, right? So one thing I did is, you know, you don't, obviously, if you go long, you know, against some kind of trailing stop loss indicator, you know, that wouldn't work out, right? Obviously, you couldn't have your stop loss put up there. So to start with, the stop loss was set up to start as just a simple 2 ATR stop loss. And then, you know, as I was kind of showing earlier here in the trailing rules, right, we have this trigger capability here, this trigger section. And this is what really makes BlackBird really powerful with its trailing capabilities. You know, that this is what really kind of makes it far superior than the NinjaTrader ATM. So with these trailing rules, the one in the middle here, this is the one that's going to trail the super trend. And so this trigger has a rule that verifies that the super trend is on the correct side of the market before the stop loss can start following the super trend indicator, right? So, you know, so basically we're offloading all that work to the software. So the software can monitor to make sure that the super trend's on the correct side of the market. So as soon as the super trend's going to flip, and it's going to flip here any moment. Actually, let me get this going here. And we'll see that the super trend's going to flip here in just a moment. Here, I'll close this out. And let's see, did it flip? No, one more bar. So the price just crossed the super trend. So it's going to flip on the next bar. So there it is. So there is our super trend right there. And so in just a moment, that stop loss, actually, you know what? I might have accidentally turned off the trailing here. And okay, no, it's still on. All right, yeah. So in just a moment, the stop loss here is going to start trailing the super trend there. And you can also notice that I've got my profit target also kind of moving out of the way. So I did that, you know, not because anybody would want to keep their profit target from moving out of the way, but I did that just so I wouldn't get taken out of the trade here. And also I wanted to keep that profit target in tight so that the scaling, you know, doesn't get out of whack either there. So let's see here. Let's speed this up a little bit. All right, so now we can see, right, that the stop loss is now starting to trail the super trend. But it's not following it exactly. So I've created this offset between, and let me slow this down a little bit. So I have this offset from the super trend indicator, and I'll explain that why that is in just a moment here. So this first demo here doesn't make a good example of why there's an offset here, but we'll get into that into the next part. So, but this first part here is going to be just watching the MACD and, just kind of showing how you can get your stop loss to move from one indicator to another indicator, based off of a third indicator, just to add some complexity into this here. And so we can see here, I'm going to speed this up here. So we can see that the MACD momentum, is beginning to trail off here, as the market kind of starts to consolidate a little bit. And here's another kind of rule here that also I implemented, right? So if the MACD crosses that 0 line, our stop loss is going to go from the super trend up to the parabolic SAR. But what if the parabolic SAR is on the wrong side of the market, right? Well, I built that safety check into the trailing rule as well. So the stop loss will make sure, the trailing rules are going to make sure that the parabolic SAR are also on the correct side of the market before that stop loss just jumps up and starts trailing the parabolic SAR, right? So there's that double safety check to make sure that the super trend is on the correct side of the market, and also make sure that the parabolic SAR is also on the correct side of the market. Because we can kind of see back here, the parabolic SAR is constantly flipping back and forth, back and forth, as the market is slowly grinding down, right? So, so if you want your stop loss to tighten up against that parabolic SAR, obviously you need to make sure the parabolic SAR is on the correct side of the market. So that is all built in to this trailing rule as well. And here we go. And oh shoot, my profit target got hit, but darn, the MACD came down, crossed 0, and that stop loss was just about ready to jump up, but my profit target got hit instead. So, all right, let me fast forward here and get us set up for the next part here. So this next demo will illustrate why the stop loss is offset from the super trend. And this idea actually came from those workshops that I was telling you guys about, where customers say, hey, how do I solve for this problem? He's like, I got the solution. So how do I integrate this solution, into BlackBird? And the problem he was solving for is occasionally, right, the market will pull up, we don't really, I don't have any examples, but just kind of imagine, the market pulling up and the wick penetrating that super trend line, right? And that happens every once in a while, where, the wick of one of these bars will punch through the super trend. And of course, if your stop loss is sitting on the super trend, right, those long wicks will have hit your stop loss. So this customer's solution was to offset the stop loss from the super trend to protect that stop loss. But more importantly, and I just want to make sure I don't go too far past here, but more importantly, that if price does close on the other side of the super trend, to make sure that the trade is flattened immediately. That way, you're not taking that full stop loss, right? You want to cut that loss down as much as possible there. So, all right. So let me get this queued up here. All right. We're almost there to the next part here. So market's going to consolidate a little bit again, and then it's going to go in an uptrend, and then I can kind of give you that next demo. There we go. Let's go long. There we go. Let me slow this down a little bit. All right. So again, the super trend needs to flip directions there. And it's going to do that here in just a moment. And all right, so there is our there's our super trend. And shoot, I was hoping to get that stop loss in a little bit lower. So sometimes this can be a little, yeah, I did get in really kind of late there. I was hoping to get into the trade down there. But there we go. We can actually just barely see that wick, right, punched through down below the super trend. And man, I just got by just literally by a few ticks. So there we go. So that's what I was trying to demo, and I just barely made it happen there, right? Where we got two wicks here, that punched through the super trend. And of course, if our stop loss was sitting right there, then that stop loss would have been hit. Again, the stop loss was supposed to be offset a little bit more, right? So, so that's why this stop loss is offset. But again, the important thing about offsetting this is that there is a third rule here, and I'll kind of show you guys quickly. So this trailing rule is called flatten when the close price crosses the super trend, right? So basically this trigger here is monitoring if price closes on the other side of the super trend, and then the command is going to be flatten that trade, right? So instead of waiting for, the market to move, all the way down and taking that full stop loss, right? If the market closes on the other side of the super trend, just get out right then and there, right? And minimize those losses there, cut those losses instead of waiting for that stop loss to take that full stop loss hit. All right. So yeah, so that third rule, you're actually not going to see that in this demo, but I just want to kind of illustrate, what is possible here with BlackBird, and how you can really design some really kind of intelligent stop loss trailing management, right? And also, again, you can build that into your profit targets. All right. So in those workshops, I think there have been a couple of questions in those workshops, where people wanted to tighten up those profit targets, if some of their kind of momentum type of indicators, seem to be going against the trade, right? So if it looks like, the market's not going to reach all the way to your profit target, then you can pull that profit target in and at least try and capture, as much profit as you can, versus waiting for a trailing stop loss to get hit, right? It's always more profitable. You can always capture so many more ticks if you can get that profit target hit versus, tightening up your stop loss there. So yeah, so from this point here, we can just kind of watch again, the stop loss is following the super trend with that offset distance. And eventually that MACD is going to, again, the MACD momentum is it's going to cross that zero line, and our stop loss is going to jump over to the parabolic SAR. And actually, that's probably going to happen here pretty soon. So let me speed this up just a little bit, and we'll get this to happen here. And yeah, so once this stop loss jumps up, that'll kind of conclude my demo, and then I can kind of show you around the rest of BlackBird here in just a moment. Give you guys a quick little tour here of some other capabilities that BlackBird has. All right, so that MACD is so close to crossing the zero line. All right, and the parabolic SAR is now on the correct side of the market. And there we go. There we go. It just happens. Let me slow this down a little bit. There, I'll slow that down. There, so the MACD, it crossed the 0 line, right? And so now the stop loss is going to follow that parabolic SAR. Now, also something that I haven't mentioned yet is that if, and I'll just slow this down a lot here. Now, if the market continues on, so let's say the market picks up momentum again and continues to move higher, right? And therefore the MACD crosses the 0 line and goes positive again. Well, that's going to switch the trailing rules back to the super trend, right? So what's going to happen is our stop loss is just going to sit there. It's just going to rest and wait for the super trend to catch back up. And as soon as the super trend catches back up with the stop loss, then that stop loss will start trailing the super trend again, right? So the trailing rules will flip back and forth between the parabolic SAR and the super trend, based on what the MACD is doing there, the MACD histogram. So I'll just kind of let that play out there and kind of walk through some of the other capabilities here that BlackBird has. So I guess, first let me just kind of finish showing you guys the trailing rule capability here, the trailing rule panel here. So, this may look a little complex at first, but really once you kind of understand the concepts going on here, it's really becomes super simple to use. So again, the trigger column here, that's where you can monitor, whether the MACD is on the correct side of the 0 line or not. That's where you can monitor if some indicator, is above or below, the market prices there, right? So you can do, various kind of comparison and checks and stuff like that. You can monitor, whether you've reached 10 ticks of profit, right? So another very, very common trailing rule is a break-even trailing rule, right? I think most of you guys all know what a break-even is, right? So, but before you move your stop loss to break even, you always wait for X amount of profit. So that's what the trigger would be used for. You could use the trigger to monitor, and say, wait until X ticks or 10 ticks of profit, right? Or wait for 1 ATR of profit. And then the action is what moves the order. So once there's 10 ticks of profit, then the action, you say, move my stop loss to break even, right? Right. So the action is very simple too. The action is moving your stop loss order, or maybe flatten the position. So remember this one trailing rule here on the bottom, the action is to flatten the position, right? So if price crosses, if price closes on the wrong side of the super trend, then that's what the trigger is monitoring, and then the action is close out the trade or flatten the position. And then also you need to decide, does a trailing rule need to repeat multiple times, or is there no repeating? So for a break even, right, that's a one-time action, right? You can only move your stop loss to break even one time, so there's no repeating. But if your stop loss is following an indicator like the super trend, well, you want that trailing rule to repeat indefinitely until the trade's closed out. So there's just a simple kind of repeat functionality there, right? So once you kind of break it down, really the trailing rules, are really kind of simple, basic concepts on designing any kind of trailing rule there. So, all right. So now we kind of got that out of the way. Let's take a look at some of the other things here. So something else that I'm going to demo for you in just a minute is the dynamic planner. And with the dynamic planner, I'm also going to demo this risk per trade or trade fit capability here. So this trade fit, what it's designed to do is to scale up or scale down the number of contracts here. All right, so you guys can see I'm on a Forex chart today, since we're also kind of showing you guys some long-awaited Forex capabilities here that our Forex customers have been waiting for. So yeah, so the trade fit, you know, basically what you need to do is set up your maximum risk for any given trade. So I just kind of put in $500, which is probably kind of high for Forex, but you know, it'll make it for a good demo here. And so the trade fit, yeah, like I mentioned, is going to scale up or scale down the number of lots here. All right, so you can see I'm set up to trade a standard lot. So I'm going to demo that in a moment, but you can also see there's a whole bunch of other money management capabilities. You know, obviously the basic ones like, you know, stop trading after a maximum amount of profit or stop trading after a maximum loss amount, things like that. You know, if we have time, I'll cover the watermark here. Yeah, I'll get back to the watermark. That's a cool capability. We also have a scheduler. So when you're building a fully automated system here, then you probably want to enable a scheduling here to make sure that, you know, BlackBird's only trading during RTH, you know, the regular trading hours. So you're not trading on overnight margin, right? So you can, you know, easily kind of set that up there. Let me kind of pull up the most common one, right? Most people are just going to use the US equities RTH, right? And so you can just see in green these blocks of time here, right? So you can, yeah, set up or tell BlackBird, you know, when it's allowed to trade there, right? So, so there's that, the scheduling. And then here's part of the Forex upgrade that we've, or enhancement that we've given BlackBird here. So you can set a preferred lot size. So you can see I've got a standard lot. You know, I could knock it down to a micro lot or mini lot, and then down to a micro lot, and even a pico lot, right? So NinjaTrader supports pico lots. It's just a matter of does your broker support a pico lot? But, you know, you've got the different standard lot sizes there. And so what that does, you know, if I knock this down to a mini lot, and then I go over to my quantity field here, if I knock this down, right, we can see it's now incrementing by one mini lot. All right. So there, let me put this back to a standard lot. And then also there's the display mode. So you can see that, let's see, yeah, there's a there. So so you can see that right now the display is using the K, you know, as a shortcut display mechanism there. But there's also some other modes here. Like you can show the full amount, right? The full Forex lot size. There's some superscript. You know, you could put in the word lots instead if you wish. And there's scientific notation as well, if that's how you kind of prefer to see things. So, you know, so for Forex traders, yeah, there's lots of different kind of display capabilities here. So I kind of like the K, so I'm going to leave it on the K there. So, and let's see here. There's also a risk management. So when you're really hardcore into the full automation and you're using indicators to set your profit target and your stop losses, right? When you're using indicators to do that, you never really know what your reward is going to be or what your risk might be when you're using indicators to kind of automatically set your profit targets and stop losses. So you might want to enable a minimum risk reward. And so BlackBird, before it actually executes a trade, it'll make sure, that your profit target and your stop loss, meet this minimum reward to risk ratio as well. So there's all kinds of little bells and whistles in here for that. So let's see, let me show you the dynamic planner here before I run out of time. So down here at the bottom, we have the dynamic planner. And so as Jeremy kind of explained, what this is really useful for are discretionary traders here that, like to kind of use price action to kind of visualize support and resistance levels, right? So, so if I wanted, I can plan a long trade, or the other button, I could plan a short trade like so. And also there is a scale to fit button here. And so if I plan long with the scale to fit, and you know what, let me show you the risk reward panel here. So this is a little easier to read, and you can see the number of lots has been increased to, what is it, 2 million now? Yeah, to 2 million, or was that 20 standard lots? Actually, well, now it's down to 15 standard lots. But we can see that basically this scale to fit capability, which is that risk per trade contract scaling. You can see that in action here using the risk reward panel here. And you can also see it on the flags there. Yeah, admittedly, these kind of planning flags might be a little hard to read over the webinar here. But if I move my stop loss up and down, right, we can see the number of contracts or the number of lots is going to scale up or down, so that we don't exceed that maximum risk that we set in the money management, right? So we can see right now, this would be 3 standard lots, and our risk is 480, approximately 480, as price is kind of bouncing up and down there. So that's the dynamic planner there, right? That allows you to kind of go in there and pre-plan your trade, and then as soon as you're ready, just hit the execute button, and then it goes live, right? And of course, I've got trailing rules in place, so my stop loss just immediately jumped up to the super trend indicator there. So that's kind of one of our great tools here for discretionary traders, is being able to kind of plan out those trades there, and then automatically, increase or decrease the number of lots or number of contracts that you're trading, depending on how wide, you're pulling your stop loss out to. So let's see here. Yeah, I kind of quickly covered the risk reward panel. So this, simply put, just kind of shows you the number of contracts. It's calculating what your reward would be and what your risk is, and then of course what your ratio is. So if that's integrated, into your trading style, where you're always kind of, measuring whether a trade is worth taking based on that risk reward ratio, this panel here will calculate that for you instantly. So let's see. Yeah, a couple of the other things that we have here. So on the left-hand side, we have 2 other panels here. So we have the order monitor panel. So let me pin this. And what this does is this kind of gives you kind of like an alternate look at the status or the state of your orders, right? It's kind of like, it's very similar to using NinjaTrader's order tab, right? If you pull up NinjaTrader's order tab there, right, you can see, the state of the orders, and you can see that here as well. But also there's some break even buttons, right? So you can, and some scale in buttons. So this also allows you to micromanage your trades manually as well. So like the break even button here, actually I just moved my stop loss up to break even. Let me pull that back down out of the way. So the break even there is adjustable. So you can see you've got these up and down wheels here. So you can adjust the break even. Like I could set it to, like when you're first opening up a trade, you could set your break even at -5, something like that, right? And then move your stop loss to -5, and then as you lock in more profits, you could go in and adjust your break even to +1, and then move that to +1. So, and even individual order sets here, which I didn't really kind of get into. Let me check the time here. Actually, I need to leave Jeremy some time to kind of close things up here. We're getting almost at the 1 hour mark here. So lastly, real quickly here, the last panel is the performance panel here. So this will show you, how your BlackBird has done throughout any one session there. So you can kind of quickly monitor, your profit and losses and, just some various, trade statistics there. All right. So, all right, with that, I need to turn it back over to Jeremy here so we can wrap it up. And then hopefully we'll get to some Q&A questions.
All right, thanks, Zach. I know that it seemed like there's a lot to absorb there, and it was definitely a very extensive demo. Believe me, you only scratched the surface of what's possible in BlackBird. So I'll kind of breeze through this pretty quickly here. To summarize what you saw there, again, what BlackBird is, it's a trade designer. That's what we like to call it. The idea is it'll take and manage your orders, or manage your money management, and manages your risk if you so desire, and manages your entries. It manages the trade. And as Zach has shown you, there's a lot of discretionary features that I can't seem to talk today, discretionary controls that are built in, as well as automated controls. And as a user of BlackBird, you have the option of kind of swapping back and forth and changing your mode or style of trading kind of at any time. And of course, you got to see a little bit of the Forex support. So I'm going to go into, again, this is assuming that you're new to seeing our stuff and BlackBird. I'm going to go into what it costs and what we offer. Okay, so first of all, I will state that BlackBird does support NT7 and NT8. Our focus has been on NT8. I still put NT7 up because there are some diehard users of NT7 still, and some third-party tools that people use that they love on NT7 and haven't switched since. But nonetheless, it's still there. But NT8 is kind of where all the action is in terms of where we're putting all the new features. We have thousands of users. Again, we are always improving, and we do actually offer kind of a 100% satisfaction guarantee. We have actually no problem doing this. We've been having that guarantee for many years, and it's worked out quite well for us. That's one way we sort of eliminate the risk for you guys. So BlackBird retails for $14.95, and we sort of consider the price of a lot of the just sort of trade systems that are out there. Generally speaking, they're a couple $1,000s. We come in at a pretty aggressive price, all things considered. I do want you to sort of consider this as well, is BlackBird is kind of the one tool that you only need to buy once, but you'll be using it as long as you're trading. In contrast to, if you say purchase a trade system, and it works for a couple of months for you and you decide to change your trade style, well, that $3,000 investment is kind of no longer relevant to you. BlackBird is a tool that kind of adapts with you and doesn't pigeonhole you into any particular trading style. So it can be used no matter what kind of evolution of your trading you're in. So I'm just going to introduce another kind of set of products that we offer, just to sort of get into the actual offering of the deal that we're going to be presenting today. We also kind of have these things called these trade management packs. And what these guys are is they're pre-made templates. That's what we call them, templates that configure BlackBird to do certain things. And these are designed for different situations. So we have ones that are a pack here that has about, I think, 9 or 12 some odd different templates. And this one is great for scalping. And a lot of people like to use this as sort of a jump off point. If you're new to our ecosystem, you're new to BlackBird and you don't know how to do certain things, these are great little templates that can get you off and running very quickly. And you can even, not that we recommend them necessarily, but you could even trade out of the box with them. But generally speaking, you take them as a start off point that you can actually, you look at these and see what's, similar to what you're looking for in terms of what you want to create or implement. And you can go ahead and load these up and then tweak them to your heart's desire. So here's one that's actually kind of cool. That these stop losses and profit targets, they actually follow the Bollinger Bands. Those are great for things like, maybe following support and resistance type style lines. Here's one that follows the Kelter channel, actually probably more appropriately. You can use this as well as like support and resistance. So what we're going to do is actually package these all together. And there's 3 different packs. Each one of these packs has between 9 to 12 different examples. And we're going to throw BlackBird in by itself. And we generally sell these packs between $200 to $300. And if you were to sort of buy all that together, that'd be just a little over $2,000, $250 around there. But what we're going to do is just give you these guys for free. So we're throwing in essentially about close to $750 worth of savings, bundling it together. And of course, always included with all our products and purchases, unlimited email support, weekly live workshops run by Zach. Those are great, actually. Like a lot of our customers love to jump on those. You get live demonstrations. Essentially, you can have your questions answered in a live setting. We consider a lot of companies on our ecosystem will generally charge for like a trade room or something like that. Now, this technically isn't a trade room, but this is a training room to teach you how to learn our software. But we've been running these weekly live workshops for years, and they're invaluable. Not to mention they're all recorded as well, and consequently, we have hundreds and hundreds of hours of video examples on how to perform things. So these are all, of course, just included in our everything that whenever you buy something from us. And so that ensures that you get to learn to use our software and actually put it to the most effective use. So to get there, just simply point your browser to sharkindicators.com/BB, and we're going to keep that offer open till May 23rd, midnight Eastern Standard Time. And I believe that is the Sunday night. So this Sunday night. And that basically concludes our presentation. So I think we got some time here to answer some questions. Do we, Shane? Or
folks out in the audience, if you've got some questions, now's the time to answer them, or for us to answer them. I'm continually amazed at how much can be accomplished through software. Your guys' level of development in this stuff is astounding.
Thanks. Yeah, that, something else I wanted to mention as well, because we always get this question, and I forgot to mention it at the last minute there. But the demonstration that I gave to you guys today in BlackBird, we do have that saved out as a file. So for the existing BlackBird owners, they're always asking for the files here that we demo in these sales webinars. So we will make this BlackBird file available to download off of our website. It'll be in the downloads section there. So if you're not, familiar where the download section is, again, you can always email our support, and we'll provide the download link for you. All right. So again, this this demonstration file will be made available so you guys can download it there. So, and even if you want to kind of take a demo, a test drive of BlackBird, you can email into our support, and we can give you the link so you can download that BlackBird file, and you can kind of play around with it yourself. So, all right, that's all I had. So it looks like.
So to clarify, will the update software be available to current users?
So that depends. If you've just purchased the software within the last year, you're automatically going to receive it. Otherwise, so the way our business model works is you have absolutely no obligation to, but of course we encourage you to. What we do is if you purchase the product, you get a year of free updates, and then any subsequent years that you want updates, you can just pay a fairly nominal amount for what we call a maintenance fee, and that will entitle you to another 12 months of updates. So
yeah, the one thing that's unique about our software, BloodHound and BlackBird, is they're constantly evolving. We're constantly adding new capabilities and new features. Most traders are used to buying an indicator, and that indicator serves one purpose, and therefore it never gets updated, right? You buy it once and you're good to go, and it's just going to, remain the same, for forever. Whereas our software, it's basically, it's design tools, and any good piece of software that's used for designing stuff, whether it's graphic arts or trading ideas, they're constantly evolving. So our software is always going through updates, usually several updates per year. So that's why we kind of have this maintenance period model, so that way we can keep paying our programmers and they won't quit on us.
Keeps food on the table for us, but that keeps us honest as well. Like, we not just adding new features, but it's, we hear feedback from the community, and we always have discussions internally about what people want to see, and we'll put effort towards that. So like, certainly if you those of you in the room are familiar with this and haven't already, joined our Discord server. Like, that's a great place as well to put sort of feature ideas in there, requests. We'll be happy to take those under and consider them.
Yeah, it's kind of a nice secondary use of those training workshops that I host, is I pay attention to what customers are asking for. And when I see something in common that we don't have yet, then we'll bring it to the team meeting and we'll discuss it. And usually, eventually it gets added, to the software. So it can do, we try and keep the software updated so it can do what traders most commonly want to do.
Yeah.
Hey, so what LF to Trade wanted to know, he said that he's using BlackBird currently and uses two order sets. The first is the initial entry, and the second only executes after the first order set is filled, plus some additional criteria as a scale in. Is there a way to get that second order set to repeat until another criteria is met?
I saw that question. That was a highly technical question.
Right.
And so that's kind of right up my alley. So being the software trainer. So actually, I forgot what the name was, but what he's wanting to keep throwing in another position. So when a profit target gets hit, he wants to open another position. and he also has some kind of triggering rules here. So the proper way to do what he wants to do is to turn whatever those conditions are that tells him to keep getting into the trade, though that actually needs to be implemented into BloodHound and turned into entry signals. That's the proper way to do it. So he's, the way he's trying to do it is really a roundabout way that the scaling capability was not supposed to do that. So really he should just be opening a new trade every time instead of trying to use a scale in to open a new position. He should be just using BloodHound entry signals to open a new position. That's the proper way to do it.
Ishihiro would like to know, is there a way to set the stop loss equal to 1.5 times the size of the setup bar, and also set targets based on the size of the setup bar?
Not there is, but that kind of niche kind of idea is not built into BlackBird, but you can do that by just making a very, let's see, actually, you know what? I'm sorry, there is a way.
Yeah.
You can use the ATR
Yep.
at a 1 period.
Yep.
Yeah, just take the ATR 1 period. Now the formula is not exact because he's wanting to take the range, whereas the ATR is not an exact range formula, but it's going to get you super, super close. So just take an ATR 1 period in the offset section, and then set the multiplier to 1.5. And that should get you going. Everybody's welcome to sign up for these workshops here. You don't have to be an owner. The workshops are open to everybody. So, even people just kind of kicking the tires, everybody's welcome. It's a publicly open workshop there. And you're welcome to ask that question this Friday in the BlackBird one, and I can show you exactly how to set that up.
Cool. Schmo7, a Futures IO member, wants to know if BlackBird can manage exits for orders entered manually.
Yeah, so you can turn on and off the basically by default you enter an order or enter a trade, I should say, manually. I'm not sure about orders. If you enter a trade manually, I'm assuming that's what you mean. The order management part is is it on by default?
Well, that's actually exactly what I demoed for you in this workshop. I was entering the trades manually. I was hitting the, the go long buttons to open the position manually. And then I was letting, BlackBird manage the stop loss trailing rules. So that's exactly what I was showing you guys.
So right. Okay. So as soon as you say move them around manually, so BlackBird will shut off kind of the automated movement, but then you can turn it back on. So you can kind of go back and forth even in a live trade.
If you want to take control of your stop losses, you can grab those flags, move them out of the way, and that automatically turns off the trailing rules, right? That only makes sense. And then when you decide later that it's safe to turn the trailing rules back on, that's kind of what I was showing you at the very end. That order monitor panel allows you to turn the trailing rules back on if you want to manually kind of move your stop losses around yourself for a little bit. So you can turn that functionality on and off at your discretion.
I saw you move your stops, man.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Busted.
Yeah, that's right. That's a no-no.
Okay, so here's Ezev from FIO asks, so when using BlackBird, use BlackBird's charts, and you can use multiple charts for the same instrument, but different time frames linked by a similar instrument as in NinjaTrader?
Not entirely clear.
I'm not sure that I totally
specifically
understand
what you're asking, but I'll just say that you could absolutely incorporate information from other charts via BlackBird's integration with BloodHound, which can do that.
Yeah, I think what he's trying to get at is, you can hook the market analyzer up to a chart so that they synchronize, and you can get your chart to switch over to whatever instrument your market analyzer is at. I think that's what he's trying to get at. And no, you can't do that with NinjaTrader strategies. NinjaTrader strategies are designed to run on one instrument and remain on that instrument for as long as you want to trade it. Yeah, NinjaTrader doesn't have any way to take a single instance of a strategy and have it constantly flip around from different instruments. It would just completely explode your strategy. So the proper way to do that is you need to have a strategy running on every single instrument that you might possibly want to trade. So, for BlackBird, you would need to put BlackBird on every single instrument. So you'd want to open up a chart of every single possible instrument and have a BlackBird up and loaded. It doesn't mean you have to actually be trading with that BlackBird, right? You can turn your strategies on and off. And with BlackBird, it has a very convenient button which I didn't cover, so you can turn automated trailing on and off at just a simple click, and so you can, kind of micromanage, which instruments you want BlackBird to be trading on yourself, doing it that way. But yeah, unfortunately, NinjaTrader doesn't allow you to switch the instruments of a strategy around like that dynamically.
We've got a user who says that he already owns BloodHound and BlackBird and is curious if there's a special on the template packs for BlackBird.
I would say not specifically, but definitely email us at sales@sharkindicators.com, and we'll have Keith work out something with you.
Yeah, Kenny, just email into support and we can get
sales@sharkindicators.com.
Oh, sales@sharkindicators. Yeah. Okay, yeah, we can work something out for you.
Customer support right there, man. Hey, so the poll, you know what? We ended up discretionary at 30%, semi-auto at 61%, and full auto at 9%. I'm curious how that played out the way you guys thought it would end up at.
Yeah, I definitely anticipated full auto would be pretty low, if not necessarily because not because of desire, but also obviously people want some manual control, but just simply because it's difficult to get something fully automated in terms of you either have to, if you don't have a tool like ours, you have to program it. There's really no other alternative. Yeah, I actually, there are kind of another question, 3 other questions. I'm not sure if you saw that there, Shane, but
I might have missed it. Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah, I'll go ahead and answer. So Tarantino Trading is asking about our support, whether it's 12 months support or longer. So I'll just say there's no limit to the support. The email support is always included, whether you're paying the maintenance fee or not, as well as those live workshops are always open for as long as we're running them. So they're always available to you.
Excellent. You guys see anything else that needs to be finished up, or?
Yeah, there's 2 more. It looks like Zodicus is asking if it's a trade where you're setting up 5 buy levels, say 5 micro contracts, 8 ticks apart, with a single stop loss or staggered per entry. Let's say all that stuff is relatively trivial to set up in BlackBird. I won't go into how. I guess that if that's something that certainly you can jump into a workshop, and see it done.
Yep, that's easy, real easy. Let's see. All right, we answered Kenny's.
Yeah, and the last one's Tarantino Trading.
Yeah.
Okay, so he says, I use BloodHound on multiple charts on my 6-screen setup in ES, NQ, and SPY, etc. I also run Bookmap. Hard to answer, I know, but does BB use a fair bit of CPU too? So great question, Tarantino. Yeah. I'll let actually Zach, if you want to go ahead and
BlackBird by itself, stock, No, it's going to use hardly no CPU. What does use the CPU is really the indicators that you use within our tools, right? So BloodHound, our other tool, it by itself doesn't hardly use any CPU because it's not doing anything. Where the CPU load comes into play is from the indicators that you use within BloodHound or BlackBird, right? So my demo today, right? I used three basic indicators: the parabolic SAR, the super trend, and the MACD. Right? Those are very trivial indicators with real simple formulas. So the CPU load on that is going to be like, you probably won't even see it if you pull up the task manager. That's going to be very trivial. Things where CPU load would start to come into play is if you're using indicators that calculate on each tick. So let's see, like the common kind of order flow cumulative delta, again, that's a very simple formula, so that indicator is not going to have much of an impact, but there could be some order flow type indicators out there, that have, everything including the kitchen sink in it. And, so its calculation load by itself might be pretty extensive. And so if you put those type of indicators into BlackBird and you start piling up more and more of those types of indicators, that's where you're going to get your CPU load, is really from the guest indicators, not so much from BlackBird. BlackBird's decision making is pretty simple, and quick and easy to calculate. So there really is no straightforward answer on what's the CPU load, because it all totally depends on what indicators you're using within our tools, which is how you get to semi-automated and full automated trading, right? Is you're piling in all these other guest indicators to build a system. So really it's those guest indicators that cause the CPU load, so, and the complexity of the design as well.
Yeah, I will kind of add one other thing. We do actually have some advanced control in there that you can actually elect to throttle the data coming in a little bit. So if you're finding that the workload is too hard on your computer, you can actually set the throttle to where you think, if you're finding it's too slow, just adjust the throttle a little bit. And that would speed things up. So you have some control over that in BlackBird.
Sounds like a pretty cool feature, and I'm glad to hear that BlackBird sounds like it's pretty light on some resources.
Yeah, Shane, I think that's all the questions then.
Yeah.
That is it, man. Well, actually, there's one more I got that I'd like to share with our viewers that are going to be watching post live. Last year, you guys hosted a great Shark Week, and are you guys planning on having another one this year?
We sure do.
Absolutely.
Yep.
As long as the Discovery Channel keeps hosting a Shark Week, we will too.
Yeah.
Shark Week.
Yeah, it was actually Ninja Trader that they approached us many years ago and was like, hey, you know what? You guys should do like something for Shark Week. And we're like, what, Shark Week? We never thought of doing that. And so, we can't take credit for that idea, but yeah, it's sort of been a tradition ever since. So
yeah, it's been a fun idea that they gave us. So yeah.
Outstanding. Well, I want to say thanks again, guys. Jeremy Tang and Zach White of Sharkindicators. Thank you guys for joining us. We really appreciate you sharing your time and your expertise with us today. Folks, that about wraps stuff up. I think we pretty much answered all the questions. The recording of the video is going to be posted over at Futures.io and YouTube. It'll be up within 48 hours. Don't forget to visit our YouTube channel for more quality trading videos. And while you're there, please hit that like button. It really helps us a lot. Share it with your trading friends and subscribe. Again, I thank you for joining us, and trade well.
Thanks, Shane. It's been a pleasure.
I had a lot of fun. Thank you.
Yeah.
Take
Awesome.
care, guys.
Yeah. See you guys.